Welcome to Look Around the Confederation. I'm your host for the evening, Moose. And before we get started, please remember the views and opinions expressed on this broadcast are not necessarily the views and opinions of the SCV, its GEC, nor divisions, brigade, camps, or any other subsidiaries. How is everybody doing in Dixieland tonight? We have a pretty good episode planned for you. It's always a great show when I have Army of Tennessee Councilman Carl Jones on. I love having Carl on. First, I wanted to apologize on air to my lovely councilman and to y'all. I'm in the middle of finals week, and I've been traveling this week, and add those two together, and it is a recipe for lateness when I'm already not good at time management. Anybody that knows me knows if you could find a way to be late, I'm the one that found it. So I want to apologize, everybody. It's just I'm in the middle of finals week. I had a lot of tests today, and it was what it was. I couldn't get on the road till a lot later than I was expecting, about an hour later than I wanted to, and I was 4 hours away. So it was a lovely day. But now we are here. I want to let everybody know we are going to do, since we're late, we're going to do the news, camp news next week. We're going to go jump right into the Army of Tennessee news. And next week, we're going to have an action-packed episode, a bit of a longer episode, where we have some news, and then we get a Confederate Legion update. Doesn't that sound like a great episode? So I'm here alongside the Army of Tennessee Councilman Carl Jones. Carl, how you doing this evening?
Did you call me a lovely councilman?
I think I did at some point.
Yeah. Please tell your dad to smack you upside the head.
I voted for you twice.
I mean, I appreciate that, but nobody's ever called me lovely. That's just weird, dude.
Well, I was trying.
You've been at Ole Miss too long. Something.
The funny thing is I went to speak at the Calhoun camp Tuesday. And so today and yesterday and Tuesday night, I stayed up with a friend in Oxford so I could do my, of course, exams. I'm an online college student, so I need Wi-Fi. And I didn't feel like making the track back. I was actually sick a bit Wednesday, and today I'm feeling a bit better. But, so I have been in Oxford, so maybe that came from there. Who knows? I do know I spent way too long. And I can't believe I'm saying that because it hurts my soul because I love Ole Miss to death. But it's not the Ole Miss I grew up with. But I did enjoy pissing off a lot of history professors during my time there.
Well, that's hopefully what our people are there to do.
Yep. So, lovely councilman, will you take it away?
Yes, I will, beautiful host.
The first person called me that since my first girlfriend was lying. She was lying.
Couple things we got coming up in the AoT. We've got the Beauvoir Fall Muster, and I'm not going to give any details on that because you know more about it than I do, being that it's in your division.
Oh yeah.
We've also we've got the Henry Wirtz Memorial, which is put on by the Georgia division. Believe, don't quote me on this, I think it is November 17. I have not been to that actually, but everybody that I've talked to has been there has said it was a wonderful event, just an outstanding event. And those are the two things that are coming up of real note between now and the end of the year. So if you make time to get to one of them or both of them, I would recommend you do so. We wrapped up the Alabama division Yellowhammer Jammer a couple of weeks ago. It's first annual event. Basically what it was a music festival. Our division commander, Mike McMurray, had kind of envisioned this whole thing to put on a music festival. And located at, kind of in the center of the state and at the Confederate Memorial Park, which is a great park. It's an old soldiers' home and campus that's there. And we had some really good musicians that showed up. You had Unreconstructed was there. Young lady from my area up in North Alabama, named Allie Knight. Her and her father came down, and then you had a young man named Brendan Young who played, and my good friend, and he's been a guest on this show before, actually, Mutt Cooper. He played a set, and Mutt and I actually did a couple of songs together. Where I played guitar and he and sang, and he played the harmonica. And I think the highlight of the event was Unreconstructed. Now, this is not the highlight, what happened to Unreconstructed. I'm getting to the highlight. But Unreconstructed broke down on the side of the interstate. They had some car issues on the way there. And Jimmy Hill and Doug Barrett, one of our brigade commanders, Doug, and past division commander Jimmy Hill, they're the ones that put this thing on, pulled it off, did all the logistics on it and everything. And Jimmy and I were talking on the phone. He said, Unreconstructed is not going to be there on time to do their first set. They're supposed to do 2 sets. He said, I've got an hour of dead time. And I said, well, Mutt asked me to bring my guitar so he and I could play a couple of songs. I said, if you need me to fill in some time, I'll do so. And this leads me to the highlight of the event. And I think if more people knew that this was going to happen, we'd have had 6 times the amount of people. We had about 225 people there. I think we would have filled the whole park up if they had known that Chuck McMichael was going to come up on stage and sing Boom Boom by John Lee Hooker with me. Okay.
Please tell me someone got that on video.
They did not. Donnie Kennedy got it with Chuck standing next to me while I was singing. He didn't get Chuck doing how. He didn't get him doing the John Lee Hooker imitation. That was the highlight of the event. And we had about his first annual event. We had about 200. I think Jimmy said he stopped counting at 225. Should have been a lot more, but like I said, it's the first time we've done it, and I suspect next year it'll go up. So Chuck was he was the speaker. He did about a 30-minute or so speech, which I'm
gonna get late jokes now.
Was really good, and it was a fun event. My camp commander and lieutenant commander of my camp, Wayne Willingham, Nathan Lamar, they showed up, and they actually, I think they camped out there that night and cooked barbecue all night. And so they served barbecue, hot dogs, and hamburgers. And it was a good time. We had a lot of vendors and all that. So we used to do something like this every year down at Confederate Memorial Park. It was called the Alabama Division Fall Muster. And I don't know what happened to it. It went away, I guess, about, good Lord, probably 12, 13 years ago. And so it's kind of been revived. It was, it was a good time. So that's kind of an update on that. And Chuck says I'm willing to do it again.
I'm getting that picture framed and reminding Chuck about that next year.
What picture?
I'm going to put this up, just the comment, and put it in a picture frame in my SCV office. Because the reason I couldn't come is because, funny enough, I had the Beauvoir Fall Muster Planning meeting, and so I couldn't come because of that. So next year, Chuck, I'm going to hold your word to that past commander-in-chief. I better see it.
Next year we need to, I plan on submitting to the Alabama Division while I'm still on the council. I've got 10 months left on the division. I've been on the Alabama Division Council it'll be 16 years when I'm done, when I get rolled off. Okay. So I've got 10 months left. I'm going to try my best to convince the Alabama division to put billboards up and down I-65 for next year's event to come hear Chuck McMichael say "haw, haw, haw, haw" in the John Lee Hooker song "Boom, Boom, Boom, Boom." And I think the park will be flooded. I think there'll be hundreds of thousands there for that.
It would be. It would be the greatest event, it would be the greatest attended event in the last 10 years of the SCV. Right.
Oh, I think we'd outsell, whatever that guy's, any of those new modern country singers are. I don't know any of them. So yeah, there you have it. Aside from that, I mean, I know you've got Bovar, the fall muster this month, right? What weekend is that?
That is actually next weekend.
Next weekend. Okay, good deal. I wish I could be there. I am in a 2-day shooting class with an instructor from Mississippi, believe it or not. He's coming up here to North Alabama to do a course. But I wish I could be there for that. I would be otherwise. What I'm going to give you the floor on that on the Bovar event.
Okay, I got my notes right here, so I'm glad you warned me a bit. Landon, I did give your information. I did explain at the beginning of the show we will be doing the news next week. We'll have an extra long edition of Look Around next week because we also have a Confederate Legion update next week. It will be an action-packed episode next week, but I'm just in the middle of finals and could not find any extra time today. My next comment, Lieutenant Commander-in-Chief Walter G. Donnie Kennedy. I can't endorse anybody on the show, but if I could, Commander, I would take away your endorsement for that one. He said he would now refer to me as the late Moose. I can't endorse anybody on the show because we have a lot of people running this year, and that would be unfair of us. So if I could, though, I would revoke yours right now. But going to Fall Muster. So Fall Muster is going to be an action-packed weekend where you can step back in time to the 1860s and experience the life of the Confederate soldier and the times. So we will have, starting officially on October 20th, 21st, and 22nd. On October 20th, that Friday, starting at 9 a.m. Or no, at 9 a.m. it looks, or no, 8 o'clock. My notes are everywhere. At 8 o'clock a.m., there will be a school day. And we'll have a couple kids come by. They'll get to enjoy and learn the property and have a great day. And this is actually our first year in a couple years that we have an actual school reaching out to us. We've been doing homeschools, and they still will be coming by, but this is the first school in a while, actually. So, great news. We're going to be teaching some kids about the real history of the war. And that's always a blessing, and I cannot wait for that. Saturday, thank you, Jack. Saturday at 11 a.m., there will be small muster focused on the kids. We'll be giving them drills and teaching them how to basically to be in rank, to how to hold the rifle, a couple of just short drills, fun for all of them. They'll have a little tiny short wooden rifles, and it will be a great time. I will be there. Apparently, for those who do not know, it's weird because by the 24th of this month, I will be in the SCV for 12 years. And I've been reenacting since I was 12. But I might have reenacted a total of 6 times. So I'm there to make sure the kids don't get stressed. And when we're doing examples of the drills, Connor has already told me he's going to just hit me with drills I have no idea what they are to make the kids laugh. And so if you want to see your kid have a good time and me mess up drills, definitely come to Small Muster at 11. It's going to be a good time. And then starting at 1:45 p.m., there'll be a brief narration of the battle given by the voice of the Confederation, my father, Forrest Dawes. And then at 2 p.m., we will have a battle. And that night at 7 p.m. for, I believe, an additional ticket, you can come to the camp dance. If you are not a reenactor, that's to the public. Reenactors will get in for free, if I'm not mistaken. There'll be light refreshments. And the Sam Davis camp have been nice enough to volunteer that they will have food on property that you could buy from them. And they make some great food. I buy from them, I believe, every year for my lunch on the property. So great burgers, great food, and you're supporting the Biloxi camp, and good group of men that is. And then coming on Sunday at 10 a.m., we will have a church service. At 11 a.m., we'll have a memorial service to the unknown Confederate soldier, which, if you do not know, we have the unknown Confederate soldier on our property. It is very similar to the unknown American soldier. So go support that. That's a big deal. We love our unknown Confederate soldiers, and we give our time to honor them that day. At 11:45, we'll have another brief narration, again by my father, Forrest Dawes. And then at 2 p.m., we'll have our battle. And around 4 or 5, we'll start closing down the property. This is the biggest event that Beauvoir pulls off every year. If you do not know, Beauvoir is the home of Jefferson Davis, and the last home of Jefferson Davis. That's where he spent his years after the war, and us in Mississippi are very proud of that fact. And also, one of the cool things you can see is on Saturday we will have the Kennedy twins there. They will be signing books and they will be speaking. Which reminds me, I need to get in touch with y'all after this episode. So they will be speaking. I don't have them in my notes, but we do have a time set for them to speak. But I need to run it first by the Kennedys. I've been again just slam packed this week and completely brain farted out of my mind. But the Kennedy twins will be there. And I cannot wait to hear them. Hopefully, I'll be able to make that y'all's speech, but I will definitely get y'all to sign one of my books. And I might buy another one. Y'all keep making me buy them because you keep writing great books, and I already don't have any money. There's my one per night. But that's kind of a good summary for Fall Muster. We will have Unreconstructed there as well, and they will be playing Saturday and Sunday, if I'm not mistaken. So it'll be a great day. Again, it's come to the property. You're supporting the property in a big way, and it's great for the whole family. You can bring your kids out, your wife, and just sit back and relax. Enjoy what we have to offer, the crown jewel of the Mississippi Division SCV, Beauvoir. It will be amazing. I can't wait to see everybody. Hopefully, I will be on the property. I will be extremely busy. I'll be like the lovely Councilman Carl Jones and be busy like he is at National every year. So I will be running around like a chicken with its head cut off. But we're going to have a good time, and I hope to see you there. And so I'm going to knock the ball back to you, Councilman.
Well, I saw a question here by Dave Perkins.
Okay.
Dave, the Confederate Legion, the cost of membership, and Ron or Donnie can correct me on this, but last I recall, it was $50. And that money goes straight into advertising, marketing the SCV in areas where heritage violations pop up around the entire country, the entire South especially. So, I recommend joining it. And for the record, the Confederate Legion is not a separate organization from the SCV. It is an organization that is formed by the SCV in support of the SCV, in support of promoting our message, who we are. So it's not like we're anybody's out recruiting to join in this instead of this. No, anybody can. It's basically a fund is what it is, not so much an organization. You get a certificate and everything like that, but you're basically pledging to assist the SCV in carrying our message into areas where heritage attacks occur through basically, whatever means of communication that is decided upon to use. But, and if I bungled that, Ron or Donnie can straighten me out on it, but that's kind of my take on it. And I think I was one of the first members to join it back when they first started it under Commander-in-Chief Gramling's administration. I don't even remember how long ago that's been now. I'm thinking 5 years.
Yep, 5 years.
About 5 years ago. So hopefully I didn't bungle that too bad. The only other thing I wanted to really talk about tonight was, and this is, look, I'm AoT Councilman. Yeah, okay. So Donnie says letting folks know who the SCV is and why they should be proud of their Confederate heritage. That's it. I mean, it's an attempt to draw people to our cause. That's the simplest way I could say it. But the other thing I want to talk about tonight, this is not just for the AoT. This is for the organization as a whole, in general. But the importance of recruiting and retention. We have got to do this. I mean, look, you're in a country of roughly 320 million people. Ron and Donnie have run polls showing that overwhelmingly, especially in the South, among conservatives, but even the South as a whole, people support, the preservation of American history, including Southern history. All right, so we've got to bring people into the organization. Our influence, our power, our voice as an organization is directly attributable to the amount of membership that we have, and that voice is projected by the financial means that we have to project our voice. Okay, so new members. It not only means more money pouring into the coffers of the organization, which we can use to go out and promote the vindication of our cause, but it also means that we have more people, and with more people in the organization, we have more influence when your local city or county or state or what have you decides they're going to tear down a part of our history. So recruitment is invaluable, and it must be a constant, consistent thing, as should retention. And generally speaking, we do, if you look back over the course of several years, we do a decent job of recruiting. I think it needs to be boosted many times over. But where we tend to fall short is on retention. And I've said this, and look, I may not make any friends here, but I mean, it is what it is. Get mad at me if you want to, but I'm just going to tell you flat out that retaining membership is almost entirely the duty and the responsibility of your camp. The GEC cannot make people want to be a member of your camp. You've got to do that, okay? And that's just the way it is. Jimmy and I are putting on a workshop in May of next year, and I'd like to see a gigantic turnout from the AoT, because these are the types of things that we're going to be talking about. Typically we have somewhere between 35 and 65 or 70 people there. We ought to have 600 people from our Army there easily. All right. If you are serious about growing this organization, if you are serious about protecting the heritage and the legacy of your ancestors, of your cultural traditions, and of your culture itself, why would you not want to learn to become a more valid and viable and projected voice in your own community, because that's what the camp exists to do. And these are the things that we're going to teach. We don't make the stuff up. We take the information that we have seen from successful camps and basically we pass it down. When we talk about recruiting and retention, I'll tell you one of the especially on retention, but especially on retention, if you've got a dysfunctional camp, you can recruit until the freaking cows come home and you're not going to maintain members. You must give them something that they want to be a part of. You must create an environment where they walk in and say, oh man, this is great. I want to come back to this every month. As Jimmy says, you are competing for their time. If your camp meeting is on a Monday night and your camp meeting sucks and they can stay home and watch Monday Night Football or go to a dysfunctional camp meeting, guess what they're going to choose? So we've got to straighten these things out. It's the little things. It's the minute details of how we run our organization from the national level down to the Army level, to the division level, to the brigade level, to the camp level. And the camps are and always will be the backbone of this organization. The local camp determines our success, not only as an organization, but as a people and as a culture. That's a fact. You cannot talk me out of that, because I've been around too doggone long in the SCV and seen it firsthand. I mean, that is the way it is. All right. So if we want a successful organization, you must have a successful camp. One of the things I tell people whenever we hold these workshops, and Jimmy and our chaplain in chief, Gary Carlisle, who's also past Alabama division commander, the three of us went down to and did a brigade workshop a few weeks ago in South Alabama. And I tell everybody when we do these workshops, whether it's on the brigade level, division level, Army level, what have you, I don't want just the camp officers there. I want anybody who is interested in seeing the SCV to be successful to be there. You may have an ineffectual camp commander. You may be a new member. Somebody's been in 6 months, a year, and you're in a camp with an ineffectual camp commander, and great, come to the meeting because I want to train you how to replace him. Okay? I'm serious. This is where we are today. It's not a matter of, maybe we'll have a successful camp. Maybe we'll do this. Maybe we'll do that. No, look, we have to. We are outnumbered vastly. I mean, if you're as sick as I am of seeing the garbage that they teach in your local high school and your local college, and you're sick as I am of a tiny minority of woke individuals throwing our heritage around and vilifying what our ancestors stood for, who they were, what they fought for. I got news for you. The only organization on the planet that is organized and fighting against this agenda is the Sons of Confederate Veterans. And if you don't make it successful, nobody will. And if it's not successful, we lose. Simple as that. And it starts with the camp. I mean, that is as plainly as I can put it. It starts with the camp. Your camp meeting must be organized. That means your camp commander, if he shows up less than 30 minutes early, he's late. That means we create an environment in the camp meeting that is something anybody would want to come to. All right. We have, a reason for them to be there. You don't have to be all business. It doesn't have to be all business. In fact, it shouldn't be all business. I tell camps, if you're going to, don't get into the minutia of business in the camp meeting, because you're going to bore 3/4 of the people to death that are there. They're there for the program. They're there to learn something about their history, about their heritage, about their people. Okay, so one of the things I recommend is that your camp form a camp executive council, and they handle the meeting, they handle the business and the minutia of all of that behind the scenes. And they come to the camp meeting and they spend about 15, 20, maybe 30 at the most minutes reporting out. Here's what the camp EC talked about. Here's what we decided. And, we've got this event coming up. Here's who's going to be there, blah, blah, blah. If you want to sign up for it, come on up here. Now let's move on to the program. And you have a speaker, or you have music, or you have something of entertainment value. And now another thing you do is you invite the general public. The general public should be welcome into your camp, especially local civic leaders. They may be school teachers. They may be college teachers. They may be members of other civic organizations like the Kiwanis Club, the Elks Club, the VFW, whoever. They may be local politicians, your county commissioners. They should be welcome in your camp. We need to give them a glimpse of who we are and what we stand for as an organization. This is making allies. It is creating relationships within our community. This is how we win. If you got a camp where you got 7 guys that show up and they sit around and they talk about, we just got a new deal on our tractor tires. Let's eat some hot dogs, drink some coffee, and then move on. And you've been doing that for 5 years. Guess what? You're failing. You're accomplishing nothing for the organization. And I think that our members need to, at all levels of the organization, ask themselves a simple question: why did I join? What was it that compelled me to join? Did I just want to be a part of something? Did I just want the certificate? Do I just like going to meetings for no apparent reason? I mean, those things are fine, but at the end of the day, we all have to have a vested interest in the survival of our traditions and our culture and our people. And if we don't build the camp, we lose.
Amen. Me and Councilman Jones are on the same opinion. Funny enough, I don't think I ever told him this in person or even live or ever, but there was a time where I slightly disagreed with him until I saw it in action. A couple things. First, I want to answer this question. Yes, we do live stream workshops. We've live streamed a couple of Army of Tennessee workshops. We haven't talked to the Army of Tennessee commander or councilman yet about live streaming this upcoming workshop, but if they agree with it, we will.
We agree.
Okay. Well, we will be live streaming the one in May. So,
unless I spent the last 16 years misunderstanding Jimmy Hill, I'm pretty sure he's going to agree to it. So,
all right. Well, perfect. So, yes, we will be live streaming it. So, if you can't make it, tune in for the live stream or download us and listen to us. There's so many ways you can watch this, and there's so many ways you can participate in it. But if you can attend, it's better, I would say, to be at anything in person. So make sure if you can be there to be there. If you can't be there, like for this guy, he can't make the travel. Tune in. But to go back to what I was going to say, for a long time, I'm about to mess with Carl for a minute. When I first heard his ideas to improve retention in the camp, some of them I disagreed with. And it's because, when you've been doing something for a long time, sometimes you don't want to change. And, I like discussing camp business at meetings. I like talking about SCV business. That's just who I am. And so when his first idea was to start inviting speakers back for example, like my camp, I was probably one of the few that was like, man, I really like talking about business though. But hey, I'm saying that to say when I saw this plan and what Carl has said in action, I can't disagree with it anymore because I would be an idiot if I did. These are great ways to improve, first off, attendance, retention, and to help with people becoming new members. Make sure if you have a new member, I'm related to 90% of my camp. I'm pretty sure the majority of my camp officers, but 2 I have not been related to. And so people, when we invite new people to our camp, we make sure we talk to them and invite them in because we are a family, so we can very easily become cliquish. That's something we have to overcome. So if you invite someone, talk to them, make them feel welcome. A camp is a family. It's actually my family. So make sure you keep that. Keep it going and expand the family. And like Carl said, have speakers, have music, have something to interest everybody. If you're a camp that's very diverse in interest, perfect. You can rotate ideas for camp meetings. The ideas can be limitless, and you can have a great time. If you love learning about history, make sure you talk to your camp commander. Hey, I'll have a speaker come in, and let's have an educational speaker. Perfect. If you're a music guy, a reenactor guy, have someone come in to talk about that. There's many things you can do, and stay active. One of the worst things I've seen do for camp retention is for sometimes camps get stuck in a rut and they haven't really necessarily done anything in a long time. Make sure you stay active. And when you are active, make sure you give the new camp members something to do. Again, it can be very easy to rely on the same people you've always relied on. Expand the bubble. Start inviting everybody in. And again, get involved in your communities. Make sure your community knows you're there. Don't be the best kept secret in your town. That is the worst thing for us right now. Get out.
That is crucial. I've seen it in my own camp. I've been in 2 camps because I was years ago. I was second lieutenant commander of the Fighting Joe Wheeler camp in Birmingham, Alabama, and then my wife and I bought property about an hour north of Birmingham in Coleman County. And a few years after that, actually about 6 years after that, I eventually got tired of driving back and forth to Birmingham, hour and a half away from where I live, and transferred up here into the Coleman camp. And I'll give you an example. Back about, I guess, 6 years ago, when the onslaught against our monuments started up with She Who Shall Not Be Named from South Carolina. And monuments started coming down in various places. My camp had a very good connection with the county commission, the city council, the sheriff, and various other civic leaders. And we went to the county commission, and they had just built a new veterans park, and they had monuments to the veterans of World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, and all that. We go to them and said, we tell them, well, what about all the Confederate veterans that served from this area? And lo and behold, guess what they said? Write the narrative and we'll put the monument up. And they did. And, you can go around, you can create a bad name for yourself in your local community. If you want to get ostracized and make yourself ineffective, go out and protest, scream, yell, You know, sometimes there's a reason for that. Sometimes there's a cause for it. Sometimes it's a last resort type of thing. But on the front end of things, we find, I mean, I've seen over and over again that if we can kind of head these things off at the pass by creating good relationships before problems start, and then try to sort of seal up good relationships as problems are commencing. And when people see who we really are in the South, especially in rural areas, you know, we gain a lot more ground there. If you go in and you take the hardcore approach to things and you come walking in there, by God, you're going to do it my way. No, they're not. They're going to cut you off, and you have just rendered yourself null and void with any influence on that city council or that county commission. You've got to build the relationships early, but the only way you can do that is if you have a solid camp with a plan, with officers in that camp who have their duties assigned to them, and they have a plan for recruitment, a plan for retention. And you're inviting the general public, including your civic leaders, into your camp meeting and doing the things. I mean, as Jimmy says, you know, I stole this from him, but we should not be viewed in the local community any differently than they view the Elks Club. We're another civic organization. We got a different interest, and that's it. And in truth, we've got a deeper connection to the average person than any other civic organization, because our organization is about your family. That's a fact. Probably 95% of the people in the South to this day have family, whether they were direct or collateral descendants, that went to war in 1861, 1862, 1865, what have you. I'm not protecting my heritage. I'm protecting your heritage. What are you doing about it? You know, why would you not want to do that? And what people, more than the Southern people, loves their family connection. You know, my great grandmother, she passed away when I was 27 years old. So I was blessed to have great grandparents for that long. And because granddad died when I was 28, 5 months after grandmother did. All right, so I had great grandparents that long. Guess what they loved talking about more than anything else? Their people. That's what they called it. Well, my people came out of Florida into Alabama. That's why I remember my great grandmother saying that over and over and over again throughout my life. And she'd want to tell me about her daddy and her mama and the time that the boy in school dipped her blonde ponytail into the inkwell, and she turned around and slapped him right out of his chair. You know, she told me that story 100 times, and I loved hearing it. Our people love talking about their ancestors. All right. So we have a deeper connection in the local community than any of these other civic organizations who are in this narrow field of interest. We've got a broad field of interest. Our interest is your family. All right. And we've got to reach people with that message. Another thing I want to say, someone brought it up in the comments. Forgive me, I don't remember who it was. I'd have to scroll back through them. But friends of the SCV, you know, something that I told them at the recruiting event down in South Alabama a few weeks ago was, when I talk about recruitment, I don't necessarily mean recruitment to the SCV. Sometimes that's doable, sometimes it's not. Recruit them to our cause. What is our cause? The vindication. That means the justification of what our ancestors really fought for. If they have a vested interest in that, if they believe that the South was right, as our, you know, the Kennedy twins put it, if they believe that the Confederate flag is a symbol of Southern pride, if they believe anything that is coincides with our mission, then that's a potential ally. They may not either have the ancestry, they may not even be from the South, but they happen to agree with us. I meet a lot of those that moved down here from the Midwest and various other places. Okay. They may have the ancestry and not know they have the ancestry. All right. So what are we going to do? Pass them by? No. No. Recruit them into the friends of the SCV and then begin working on their ancestry to find some sort of tie to where they can join the Sons of Confederate Veterans at some point. We had a guy in the camp when I was in the Wheeler camp in Birmingham. It took us 2.5 years. We signed it. There was no friends with the SCV at that time. We made him an associate member of the camp. And 2.5 years, and that guy he was one of the most dedicated members we had. He was at every meeting, and he was in his mid to late 60s. And 2.5 years later, we found his ancestor, and he was ecstatic about it. There are thousands, hundreds of thousands of these people out there across the South. We need to get them. Okay. I'll stop there, but I mean, I'm just going to summarize by saying what Moose said. Be at the meetings. If you can be there, be there. You know, the important thing is not just coming to hear all our speakers talk. You're going to get some stuff out of that. You will. You'll get a lot out of it. But the other part of it is that being around like minds, if you got 65, 70 people that show up at one of these things, you're going to have time on Friday night and Saturday night, just like you do at a national reunion or at a division reunion, to sit around and talk and learn what is working that other camps are doing. What are other camps doing to make themselves successful? If you've got a camp in, let's say, Jacksonville, Florida, or Shreveport, Louisiana, or Foley, Alabama, or Tallahassee, Alabama, or Columbia, Tennessee, and these guys are clicking on all 8 cylinders, and they're recruiting, and they're growing and growing and growing, and they're retaining members, and your camp is sitting there flopping around like a fish out of water. Why would you think that you can't learn something from these successful camps? And sometimes a 10-minute, 20-minute conversation at some of these events that the SCV puts on can be a life-changing event for the vitality of your camp. So come to the meetings. And I know they're putting them on in the ATM. I don't know about the A&V. I know they have put them on. I don't know what their plan is in the future. But in the Army of Tennessee, these become a regular thing, and they have to be. I want to grow this Army. I'd like to see this Army triple, quadruple in size. And it's doable, but we've all got to work together on it, and we've all got to be committed on it. And it really is. It's that simple. That sounds like a simple explanation, but it's a fact. I've seen it with my own eyes. You got a camp in Sylvania, Alabama, in DeKalb County, Alabama, a county, I think, if I remember correctly, has a total population in the county of around 6,500 people. And you've got a 120 to 140 man camp there. And they've been that way for years. All right, what causes their retention rate? If you go to their meeting, you're going to have somewhere between 50 and 75 people at the meeting at every single month. Why? Because they have created an environment that people want to be a part of. It's that simple. We can do that all over the South. I don't know, somebody tell me, Chuck, Paul, one of y'all, I don't know how many, I know we got over 800 camps throughout the Confederation. Imagine if every one of them had an environment that everybody in their community wanted to come to, what would our numbers look like then? And if our numbers are up, our funding is up, and our voice is magnified greatly. I'll leave it at that and let you talk, brother.
Wow, that gum. Carl went for it tonight, and he hit some home runs. I don't think I could really add anything to those.
One thing, Sean McFall, I meant to answer this a little while ago, asked when is the next workshop. I don't recall the date, Sean. I know it's in May. It's going to be at our headquarters in Columbia, Tennessee. I want to say May 17, but if you will text me, I think you got my phone number. I'll get you the exact date on it.
I'm sure I can find it on here and text you real quick, Mr. Sean, after the show. And the Gainesville camp, wrong person, made a good point. If we could just get every camp up to 150 members, it's 132,000 members. And I think we could all do it. And I think tonight, Councilman Jones showed us a great couple ways to do it. If you want to hear more couple ways, make sure to hear him at the Army of Tennessee workshop.
At the Army workshop, I'm going to go into detail.
Yeah.
It's not going to be just me. You know, I'm going to talk for an hour on what I talk about. Jimmy's going to talk for an hour on what he talks about. We've got other speakers, okay? These things are invaluable. I mean, they truly are. Look, and I want to give you an example. We years ago in 2017, I was Chief of Heritage Operations, and Paul Gramling, I don't know if y'all know him or not, but he was Lieutenant Commander in Chief. He had called me and asked me, he said, you know, I'm doing these recruiting workshops and one in each Army. He said, what do we do? Recruiting in the morning and Heritage Operations in the afternoon. And so he and I and Tom Strain traveled out to Texarkana for the first one. Had a great turnout in the ATM, by the way. There were over 100 people there. Best turnout I've seen to date. A month or so later, we traveled to the AoT to Columbia, Tennessee, actually to the Henry Horton State Park up there. And the turnout wasn't as good, but it was still a good event. First year we'd held one in the AoT in a long time. And there was a young guy there, and I can't remember. Jason, Commander-in-Chief Boshears, knows who I'm talking about. He knows the camp I'm talking about. But this guy was sitting there writing notes the whole time that I'm talking and Jimmy's talking. And I think we ran into him about a year later, and he came up to Jimmy and I don't remember what event it was at, but he came up and he said, I just want to let you all know, I took notes on everything y'all said. I went home and did those, and my non-man count went to 69 men in 1 year, and he recruited one county commissioner and one state legislator.
Golly.
That's a fact. That actually happened. And Jimmy and I didn't make this stuff up off the top of our heads. It comes from nearly 20 years of us observing successful camps versus unsuccessful camps. You know, so it's not magic. It's just a matter of, you know, how much do you want to succeed? And are you willing to put in a little bit of time every month to making your camp and the organization by extension successful? It really is that simple.
Amen. You got me fired up. For some reason, well, not for some reason, but now I'm looking forward to the Army of Tennessee workshop even more. I can't wait to be there. Not only that, do I get to see my fellow brothers, but I get to learn more. And I know we've already taken a lot of stuff that y'all have said and brought it into our camp. And so this year will be our first year kind of trying to, I'm going to mess with Carl for a minute. The Carl Jones method, I'm going to call it for a second. This is the first year that my camp's doing the Carl Jones method. And so I can't wait to report on how that does by the end of the next SCV physical year. It's different for us. I'll be honest, but everybody seems to be enjoying it and having a great time. and I can't wait to see what it does for our camp. And I mean, I'm in a very small county, and my camp, again, I'm related to more than all of them. There's maybe 3 people I'm not related to in my camp. And so it's been a family camp for a while. And so I can't wait to see what we can do with that.
Well, it is, again, I'll just reiterate this organization, you got 14, I think it is, on the GEC.
Mm-hmm.
Those 14 men can't save the organization. We can come up with ideas, we can produce materials, but at the end of the day, the success of our organization, the success of our heritage, the forwarding of our heritage, of our message, of our cause, it is reliant almost entirely on the local camp. And that's how it is. And that will never change. It never will. Local is the key.
Amen. So I hope you were taking notes tonight. We're writing some of this down. We're going to start going into the wrap-up phase unless Councilman Jones has anything else he wants to add.
I'm good, brother. Appreciate you having me on.
Well, Carl, it is always a great time where you're on. Always enjoy your company. And I don't know. Let's see here. What's next week?
One thing I do want to say, Landon Johnson, I just saw this comment, and other camps need to support other camps. Abso-freaking-lutely. 1,000%. Don't hold yourself up in your local community. I can give a firsthand account of this from my own camp. We're good at creating relationships in the community. We're good. We cook barbecue every year, and we raise money for local children's food bank every year and donate. I don't know how many thousands of dollars we've donated to that. Okay, so that's kind of our shtick. We've got a Veterans Day event that goes on every year in Coleman County. It's one of the largest in the South, probably the largest in Alabama, to the point, I mean, I tell you how big it is. We've had the Memphis Belle there, World War II bomber, and they're selling helicopter rods in this old bomber, so it's that big. And but our thing is community involvement. All right, we don't have any reenactors that I'm aware of in my camp, but guess what? The camp one county over, Marshall County, they do. And another county, St. Clair County, they have a cannon. And so we'd hold this big event, or we'd be invited to join in with this big Veterans Day event every year. It's coming up again, actually. We've been in this about 10 years now. And we invite these other camps over. And the Marshall County camp, they come over every year and set up a living history. And you got guys there in uniform, something that we can't do because none of us have uniforms. They set up a living history, and they sit over there and tell the facts about the war. The other camp fires off a cannon. It's a big draw. So you got 3 or 4 camps that are kind of working together there. All right, look, it's like I told the Alabama division this year at our division reunion. There, yes, our success is local, but we're not just a local organization. The cause in Coleman, Alabama is the same cause that it is in Gulfport, Mississippi, and Jacksonville, Florida, and Knoxville, Tennessee. The cause doesn't change. If you can help the camp next door to you, do so. We're all in this together. It's extremely, extremely important. So thank you, Landon, for bringing that up.
Amen. All right. We don't have anything for next week, either on, because I don't know if we've gotten with you yet, either on the 16th or the 23rd. We will have Carl Jones on one Monday, I think, this month. I don't know. It was the other host's job to get in touch with you about that, but he's been stuck at work all month, so I don't know if he's had the time. But we'll announce the plans for next Monday's SCV chat soon. Real quick, before I get into signing off, I want to remind everybody to please support our sponsors. Let me get to them. And of course, tonight's episode of Look Around the Confederation is sponsored by Jefferson Davis High Road to Emancipation and Constitutional Government. Jefferson Davis High Road to Emancipation and Constitutional Government is about how Jefferson Davis was a leader in the high road to emancipation. He looked for a day in which slaves be prepared to live and participate in society. He did more, though, than advocate for this high road to emancipation. He practiced his beliefs in the ultimate emancipation of Southern slaves, and many of his former slaves left with prosperity and their testimony about their former master who prepared them to be self-sustaining members of society. You can get the Kennedy Twins' newest book, Jefferson Davis, High Road to Emancipation and Constitutional Government, at www.kennedytwins.com and most online bookstores, including www.scv.org and www.visitbeauvoir.org, both listed in the gift shop section of their respected websites. We want to thank the Kennedy Twins for sponsoring tonight's episode. It's a great book. We're going to have them on at some point to talk about it. Trust me, you're going to want it. Next, I would like to thank Army of Tennessee Councilman Carl Jones, the lovely councilman, for coming on the show tonight and helping me out. It's always a blast to have Carl on. Those are probably some of my favorite episodes. We have a great time behind the scenes. We have a great time during the show. And sometimes we have a great time behind the scenes, depending on if we're hearing Conroe sing music. So it's 50-50 sometimes. But it's always a blast. Make sure to share this episode out, people. And make sure to tune in Monday, 7 p.m. Confederate Standard Time for your weekly episode of SCV Chat. And make sure for next week's episode of Look Around the Confederation, you send your pictures, short videos, and write-ups to scvyouthoutreach@gmail.com, and you'll be featured on the upcoming episode of Look Around the Confederation. Also, remember, on next week's Look Around the Confederation, we will have the Kennedys on, I believe, to talk about the Confederate Legion update. So we have a stacked show for you next week that you don't want to miss. Until then, my friends, make sure you have a great time, support your SCV Camps events, and remember to stay Southern, my friends. Good night, everybody.